Hey, hope you're having an amazing day. QZ Creations here with another message on the restitution. So we had talked about for this whole time that I've been recording and putting these messages out here about the $2.9 million for every Black family, that's man, woman, and child, judicial reform, because the laws were made against us and we want to make them for us. Every time a law was for us, we fought for them. And then we talked about education. We want free education, free quality education. So we already get it from 0 to 12, but we want to extend that out to college. There are other nationalities who have faced these same disparities at the hands of America who have actually gotten free education with college, and we haven't gotten that. And we have paid our student loans, we have paid our dues and everything, but we really want we demand that it be more fair. So then we have the, not just that education part of it, but the financial literacy. There are so many things that keep us in poverty because we don't have the literacy about money and how to make that grow, how to balance checkbooks. So we really want that financial literacy. So when we get that $2.9 million, we know how to keep it. We know how to make it grow. We know how to make it flourish and our communities to grow healthier and stronger. And we want, so we went down judicial reform. Healthcare with the focus on mental health. We spent a lot of time on the focus on mental health, but we definitely want to go back into healthcare because there are a lot of things that our healthcare doesn't provide to us, because even when they were doing studies on us, they always said it was about the white male. And there are a lot of things that are hidden from us in healthcare, and we want that to be highlighted. We want our healthcare to be pointed towards the things that matter to us, and we want it to be with the focus on mental health because we suffered a lot of trauma through all of this throughout the history of America. So I digress. We're going to get to the lesson. So modern legal debates, contemporary issues, including digital privacy, healthcare laws, Affordable Care Act, and debates over originalism, U.S., a living constitution, injustice, interpretation. So basically what that says is the interpretation of how these things came about. When we had the Constitution, the very first part of that Constitution, those first laws that were crafted in, we were 3/4 of a person. So horses were worth more than our lives. Slaves were less than a horse. A horse was more valuable. Our lives as human beings was less valuable than a horse. And this has never been changed. Yes, we ended up with the 14th Amendment, which made us not to be slaves, but when you amend something, it could be mended back to where it was. And that is the fabric of what our Constitution says. And that doesn't show the liberty. And that's why we don't have liberty now. We don't have true freedom, because it was never changed. They just put in a bit of a clause for us to be out of slavery, but it never defined us as humans. And if you look at the present time, they treat us less than humans. And now we have, in turn, with that same trauma at the forefront, started treating ourselves as less than human. So we have to really be cognizant of what the fabric of our country has brought upon us and how we're going to move in a whole nother direction to be able to say that, yes, we are human, and we will acknowledge that we are doing a lot of this damage ourselves, but we have to acknowledge that we're only doing it based off of trauma, and that trauma has brought us to that self-destruction that we see today. The killing on the Black on Black crime, the Black on Black hate, a lot of the things that we have experienced has been woven into our reality before we were even born. So we're being birthed into it. We're learning it from day one when we come into our lives in this country. And even other nationalities feel that way about Black Americans, although we have never given them reason to. Our TV shows show it. Our multimedia show it. They skew the way people look at us, and we have to have it up to us to show how excellent we are. That's why you hear words like Black excellence and Black love and all of that. We don't want it to be where it's just like labeled as that, but we have to be able to highlight our positivities, because so many things about us that were negative were highlighted. The news has never been kind to any of the crimes and everything. And I was talking to one of my colleagues, and we were talking about how they have, when a person that is of any other nationality, they consider their mental health when there was a major crime that was committed. But when there's a major crime committed and it's in our community, they treat us as if we are dogs. They treat us as if we're animals. So that consideration isn't given, and a lot of Black men and Black women are sitting on death row because of that, because they lacked the money to be able to get a good lawyer, so they got a public defender, which I call public pretenders. They lacked the knowledge of these laws, so they were, like a lot of people don't go to court with lawyers, but if you know the law, then you can actually beat these cases. Well, we don't know that because we have low education. So all of these things were stacked against us to be able to keep us in the same place, in this impoverished place, and we want to be able to uplift us out of that. That's the reason for these demands. So I digress. Let's get back to the lesson. So the modern era law debates focusing on issues like abortion, Roe v. Wade in 1973, overturned in Dobbs in 2022, gun rights, Heller in 2008, same-sex marriage, Blatter 2015, and digital privacy, the role of the Supreme Court in originalism versus living constitution remains disputed. The mass incarceration fueled by policies like war on drugs, the disproportionately affected Blacks and Latino communities, immigration laws, e.g. 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform Act, increased deportation. Recent debates included affirmative action, students for fair admissions versus Harvard 2023, policy reform and tribal rights, e.g. McGirt versus Oklahoma 2020. So that's the one that I really wanted to talk about. So we will break all of these down, but I want to focus on that ruling in Oklahoma. So back in 2015, right before Obama left office, he started to really bear down on what he wanted to do with prison reform, because he wanted to be able to maximize his pardoning abilities. But when he started going into the jails, he seen that he wouldn't be able to pardon so many people, but there was a lot of people in there that were innocent. So he spent a lot of the budget for that year in 2015, which fell into 2015 to 2016, then 2016 to 2017, because the budgets go from June to July. They were able to put money into going back into these files that were considered to be unsolved, or people who were on death row and everything. So there were about 26 men. Well, it was more than that. There was 26 Black men, but there were like 37 overall that were sitting on death row that they found out that they were all innocent. And in that time, you can't get out of these things in Oklahoma without appealing the case. Well, what happens when you are on death row is you don't have any money. you have to have money to be able to appeal a case, and it's thousands upon hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to secure a lawyer to be able to try those appeals. And all these men were innocent, and when you had in Oklahoma, if you can't get an appeal, you still on death row, and they started to kill them. So there was 26 black men, and now there's 22. So here we have a law that is killing people in the state of Oklahoma, and these are innocent people. And we've seen it throughout with a couple of years back with a guy who got out in Chicago, and they haven't released him. Well, they did release him at the end of last year, but he was in there for 4 years after they found him to be innocent. So you see how these laws are, they work against us. So even when you say that you're free, you're not free. There's no freedom, because the Constitution still states that we are 3/4 of a person, and the 14th Amendment did not amend that. It just amended that we're not slaves anymore. It didn't take away the stench of the original law that says that we are less than human. So when we talk about these things, and we talk about them on a really, really large scale, we have to really think about how we can do judicial reform that works for all of us, and make it fair. I'm not saying let out criminals. I'm not saying put murderers out on the street. I think that they should get their just due in our justice system, but I also want it to be fair. If you are innocent of any of your crimes, you should not be locked up. If the laws are skewed against you and you were supposed to have a shorter sentence for the crime that you did, I want those laws to match the crime that you did. I want our laws to actually be fair in the ways of us, and not be based off of how they think about us versus what the reality is. And I just want to thank you for your time and your energy, for coming here with me and talking with me and sharing with me all the things that you have experienced. And I want you to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below, and let me know what you thought of this message. Kitty's Creations here, and I hope you have a great day.